All of the views and opinions expressed here are those of the individual speaking and may not be representative of Konig American. At times, language may be considered vulgar. Listener discretion is suggested.
You are now listening to the Konig Behind the Wheel podcast.
We're live. Welcome to Wheel Wednesday. We're back again. That's Nick. I'm Scott.
Thanks for the intro.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. So here we are. This weekend was interesting. I think we had a couple decent-sized events that happened. Formula Drift being one. And
Global Time Attack. Where was Formula Drift this weekend? I didn't even know FD was going on.
Yep.
I was kind of focused on Time Attack.
Right. You know what? Before we get too far into this, let's talk about our giveaway real quick. There's a giveaway going on right now. We've talked about it a few times. Basically, it's pretty simple. Go to konigwheels.com/subscribe and fill out the little form there. It puts you on our email news list. And in addition to that, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, those who subscribe to both our YouTube channel and our email newsletter, we're going to pick one person at the end of the month, so probably in that first couple days of September, and we're going to give away a set of wheels. So if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube and our email newsletter, go do it.
What about Labor Day? Labor Day is September 2nd.
Right, but I just mean that we're going to run it through August, and we'll probably pick, because of Labor Day, right after Labor Day. Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
first few days.
Around then.
Yeah, so right after the first few days. So, if you're not subscribed to both those things and you want to have a chance to win a set of wheels, go check it out. Details are right there on the page, konigwheels.com/subscribe.
Link it below.
And
if
all
you're listening on iTunes, go to YouTube. I'm pointing down. We'll link it below.
Yeah, but all the details are there. So go check that out. And anyhow, going back to this, yeah. So FD was in St. Louis. What's interesting about this track and this event is that they've changed the configuration. So they've been in St. Louis, I believe, for the past 2 years. This is, I believe, their third year at Gateway. And they changed the track configuration around.
How so? What was it? I've never seen the track, so what was it like before, and what did they...
So, Gateway Raceway, I believe that's what they're calling it now, is what they've always called it, it's like a NASCAR track, right? So they use part of the infield, and before they had structured the track the past few years to be a very long, very fast track with a big sweeping horseshoe there. And the track was very similar to Texas in the way that it built a lot of speed.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, they changed it to a kind of a oval configuration. So it kind of uses the infield and then a big sweeping bank kind of back onto the NASCAR portion of the track. So it slowed it down. There was a lot of controversy for this. There's something that's been going on that has to do with the acceleration, deceleration areas of the track. And what's essentially been happening is people are saying that the lead cars sometimes are intentionally slowing in places maybe they shouldn't be. And then there's collisions or contact that happens. People spin, and there's always that who was at fault, where should the points, where should the win be awarded type of thing that happened like 4 times in the same location on this track. So it was pretty wild. But I think what was interesting is, and shout out to our dude Alec Robbins, man. He Pro 2 goes out and gets his Pro 2 win, gets a Pro 2 win at St. Louis. So shout out to Alec Robbins. He's been with us for years now, and I don't know. He's a hardworking dude. He's a good dude, and congratulations on his win. So that's cool. And let's see what else happened there. Garrett Denton, one of our drivers, Alec actually beat him. He didn't beat him up.
Did they get into a fight? I'm curious. What was this incident that happened?
But they actually battled, I believe, in their top 8, and Alec won there to move forward. But so Garrett Denton, obviously a great showing, and Reeder and Lawrence in pro, they both kind of were out in top 32, but I mean they drew some good matches and things like that. So I don't know. That's kind of the FD bundle of update. Of today's podcast.
I was a little confused for a second. I was like, "Is this an FD edition?"
Right.
No.
But you were out. But you went out to Global Time Attack.
I was at Time Attack. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I've never been to Time Attack before. And I met, who did I meet there? I met I'm gonna screw up his name. Shailon Wu.
Yeah, from Wu Racing.
From Wu Racing. Sally McNulty from IAG and Borsma.
And Chris Borsma, right, from K-Tuned.
Oh, you
met
Borla. No, I was like, no. Sounds so. I know he watches these, so he's probably gonna laugh at that. But I met Chris Borsma and James Houghton, and they're all really nice people. Yeah. And like I said, this was my first Time Attack event, so I had a lot of questions for the drivers as far as like what the actual event is, and I interviewed most of them. Yeah. It was a really fun weekend. It's also very, very hot.
Right.
But really, really cool. And all of them won awards, which was, I was like, oh wow, like literally everyone here with Konig wheels won awards. I don't know if that's a coincidence or.
Yeah. So I think Time Attack's an interesting type of thing to watch. I think that if you've never seen one in person, that you either have one or two feelings about it. One, you either think like it's really interesting and it's cool to see the cars move, or you feel like it's boring, right? So I think that there's only like two ways. I think
Yeah. When I first got to the track, I was like, I feel like this might be a little bit boring. But like as the day went on, and as like I watched them run, and I spoke with the drivers. About the times they were doing, and seeing that the work that they put into their cars as like the day goes on, just pretty much to make sure they get like that one good lap where like they can either break a new record or beat their own time, whatever the case may be. So and all of the drivers were constantly throughout the day dealing with complications, just aiming for like that one
tenth of a second.
Yeah. It was really cool to see like the dedication and work that they put in to do that. So
yeah, it's interesting. It's like the one thing that people in the Time Attack community don't really get a lot of credit for is how much time in prepping the car, how much time in building the car, how much time in traveling to get the car to events, how much money it costs them.
Oh yeah, I mean, they trailer their cars all around the country.
Yeah, I mean Chris Borsma, I mean he's from Canada, so for him to make it down to New Jersey, maybe not so bad. But like when they go down to Atlanta and some of these other events,
they're going next week.
Right.
They'll be
right?
They'll be out there next week. Yeah, Grid Life is next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. I forgot where Sally's from. I think she's from Arizona.
Yeah, so Sally's from Arizona.
Sally's from Arizona. Her car, the what do you call it? The Subaru was actually at IAG, which is right down in Maryland. So.
Yeah, right. So they brought it down, but sometimes the car's in other places because it's all over the country.
Yeah. It was convenient for her this time, but they're always going all around the country.
Yeah, and Sally's a super hardworking person. She is, I believe, she's a service writer for a Volkswagen dealership in Arizona. So she works like straight up six days a week and like really puts a lot of time into, making sure that her bosses know in advance when her
she's got a race and she's got to be out there. That's dedication, man. Mm-hmm. To have like a full on day job and be like, oh, like I'm racing this weekend, I need to head out to the race. That's pretty cool.
And what kills me is that like there's so many people that you'll see online that make comments on some of these posts, and not just our posts, but like their posts in general, and they're talking about like, oh, that's not fast or that's not cool. What do they know about aero? It's like, listen, these people work really, really, really hard to be able to run a program that's this legit, to run cars that are that fast, that are capable of going those speeds and that type of times, and they put so much effort in. and then you have people on the internet with smashing them down, and meanwhile, like, no experience in it. So, anyhow, show some love, show some respect to these people that are out there really grinding it out and putting everything out there, on the track.
Yeah. There were actually some complications. Of course there were complications. I forgot why. Everybody's car, something was wrong with them. I can't remember Wu's complication. I know Sally, she blew a hole in the header.
There's no doubt that they run into so many issues. I think Boersma was having a turbo issue.
He was.
Or something like that.
One of the couplers kept blowing off. Yeah.
What's interesting is I actually saw. Here comes a little old school OG pro tip for some of you turbo guys. But I actually saw him on an interview or something on his social media, and he said, "I hate Instagram." And he was talking about how they were blowing the intercooler couplers like right off, And so he was saying
that this weekend? Yeah. That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. So he was saying how they had used a trick about using hairspray. So this is the OG pro tip. Back in the day, before we had like these cool vibrant clamps and different things that would basically almost create like a latching bar that would hold the couplers. Like, back in the day, like when I was drag racing, we would run 42 pounds of boost on, turbos that, are probably sized around, 35 Rs today. And back then that was the hugest thing that we could get our hands on kind of thing. And you just didn't have some of the cool little things. I mean, they had Wiggins clamps and some of those cool things like the same thing Vibrant makes now, but they were like so much money, like $250 a clamp or something back then. Like,
Christ.
Right. So if you had, 1, 2, 3, and then came the other issue is when you put a Wiggins clamp on, there just wasn't a lot of flexibility. So, you can sometimes vibrate some of your parts to death, right? Mm. But so one of the things we used to do, and we had a few different tricks, was what you do is you take your couplers off and you put hairspray on the coupler and then on the throttle body or the pipe or whatever it is, and you'd stick it together and tighten it down. And when the hairspray dried, it actually gave it a great bit of resistance. So I actually saw him talking about this, and one of the things he said was, we're trying everything to keep these couplers on, and one of the things we're trying to do is, like, somebody told us to try some hairspray, so we did, or something like that. I remember thinking, like, oh, like, we were doing that, like, a long time ago. But
yeah.
Anyhow, so if you're out there and you're blowing intercooler pipes off, and you're not sure what to do, give a little hairspray. Yeah. Bead rolling, all that stuff is, we used to do back then. But the hairspray thing, man, for some reason, like, that was like a go-to, So, anyhow. That's what was going on. There's a lot of – you're always going to find race cars and racers having issues at the event.
Right.
Always. Just the nature of racing, right? Like when you're always going to have changes and things you're trying to do and different things you're trying to work into, and I think that's just part of it. So, but you got to witness it firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris seemed to be pretty stressed out about that. I think he told me he got a pretty good run in before the last one blew out. I think they actually fixed it. They managed to get the one side to not blow. The other one went out on his last run on the other side. You believe that?
I wish I could say I didn't, but yeah, I do. But man, it's interesting. Like, going out there as kind of a guy that's never time attacked in that type of level, do you have some sort of newfound appreciation for that sport? Yeah,
I want to take the Miata there.
Right. Yeah, right. Like, it's cool.
And I actually saw a bunch of Miata guys. It's funny, when I got to the track, I accidentally went to the wrong side. So at New Jersey Motorsports Park, they have two tracks, like Lightning and Thunderbolt or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I went to, I think, the Lightning track. I don't know. I went to the wrong track. I made a left instead of a right.
Okay.
And I get there, and I'm just like, wow, this is like Miata heaven. Like, almost every single car there was a Miata. Then, like, a couple S2Ks and, like, a couple different cars. But, right. Like, I saw at least, like, 15 Miatas there just, like, rolling in. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm in the wrong track, and then I went, like, to the other side. There were still a couple Miatas, but not as many as, like, on the other side. I don't know what they were doing over there. I just wanted in on that event. I was like, damn, right. I chose this day to bring the CRV.
Right. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, it's they do a good job with those global time attack events. So
yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to participate in something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So that was cool. Man, I was doing some research before. Just like routine, like fitment type stuff. I mean, one of the things that you may or may not believe, but if you send us a message on social media, or if you send us a message, through Facebook or whatever it may be, we do listen to all your feedback. There's plenty of people that will say, can you build, an 18 by 12 and a negative 13 or something? And logistically, we may just decide that doesn't make a lot of sense for us to do. But then comes this other issue where we may see a fitment that comes up, and we've spoken about this before, where we decide, let's try that. That could work, and it seems like there's some people asking for it. There's a commonality to it, or whatever it may be.
Like the Fiesta.
Yeah, like the Fiesta. That's a good example. So, we keep our eyes peeled, but so one of the things we do, especially when we're almost at the end of our development for 2020, as far as what new wheels will be coming out. And we're just kind of finalizing some of the fitments and what's going to be kind of applicable to certain vehicles.
Right.
So I like to take some glances on certain things, make sure maybe there's not a popular offset out there or a popular size or something that we're missing that we could add in.
Right.
And, so it's kind of searching out there. And so I got stuck on this thread, man. And I try, I do.
What did the thread say?
Yeah, so I try my best.
What was it about?
So, I try my best not to get too ramped up on forums. And the reason is this, is that I was always active on the forums when I was younger, and I understand that there's a lot of good that comes with forums, and then there can be a lot of bad. And I think that's with anything.
Yeah, I think so. I actually have like little to no experience on forums. Like I signed up for one when I first got like my first car, and I was just like, this is stupid. I'm getting no feedback. Nobody's helping me. And then Facebook was like really, really, really getting up there. So
yeah,
that was just kind of what I went to. But
yeah, but so I went to one of these forums looking at something, and I got sucked down the rabbit hole of some people and here's the thing. I have no problem. I think forums are a great place for you to learn a lot about your car, learn a lot about different parts, to learn from others' experiences. But I think that there's a part that you do need to do your own research. You do need to confirm that what you're reading is accurate. And I think that people generally take an opinion or take some of the things that they're thinking is correct, and they put it there as fact. And I think that that's hard. And so anyhow, I got sucked into a wheel thread.
Do you want to tell us this information?
I got sucked into a wheel thread where somebody was talking about Konig hypergram, and they had, they were putting up some things, and they were super supportive. They're like, hey, and I found these wheels. They're a great price. They look really light. They're flow formed, and they were talking about us, comparing us to another brand, which I'm not going to get into because that's not my point of this conversation.
Right.
And so they have a few threads, people giving their personal opinions, and hey, that's great. And then all of a sudden comes the guy that knows everything to say basically, oh, like I wouldn't do those wheels, referring to the hypergram, I believe, because, trusting a company that's new, to lightweight cast wheels is a deadly thing. And we've been doing this for 40 years. Like, I don't know. 2009, in the end of 2009, we introduced our first Flowform wheel. That's like 10 years ago.
It's 10 years ago, yeah.
We have been producing Flowform wheels for a long time. It's not a new process for us. If the popularity of our Flowform wheels to more of a mainstream type person, started 5 or 6 years ago, and now, as it gets into certain people, they're now seeing that as the first time they became aware of it. For them to spread fact, and this thread was like a year ago, so I mean, you're talking about like it was just wild. And then to read some of these people's comments, and this dude defending it.
But what did this dude say? He said he wouldn't trust the
wheel?
wheel?
He was basically just saying that like there, he doesn't know, like we don't have a proven track record yet. He'd give us more time to figure it out. Like, we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, and, listen.
And we sponsor a lot of, like,
a ton.
pro drivers. Like,
and not even just the stuff that we sponsor. I mean, like, you go out to these events, like, our stuff is out there.
Yeah, people use our wheels on the track. Like, I can't even tell you how many drivers I saw with Konig wheels at FD, at Time Attack, and even just, like, in, like, private events,
Yeah, and I think what's interesting even about a lot of those events is not always just the event, because a lot of that stuff is sponsored, but the parking lot. Like, you want to see what's on cars at an event, go to the parking lot where everybody's parked with the cars that they drove there. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think a good measure is. But anyhow, regardless, I think that, one of the things people need to keep in mind is do your own research. I think if you go research Konig and you go research our company, you'll find out that there is a correlation to some other brands we're owned by. We are the manufacturer. Do your own research. I don't want to throw anybody.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the purpose of this thing. But listen, our stuff is used on a lot of different events, in a lot of different motorsports, in a lot of different areas, in a lot of different regions, in a lot of different countries.
So, in other words, they're trustworthy. You can trust they'll do a good job.
I wasn't even trying to really spread that. I think just thinking about the nature. We just talked about Formula Drift. We just talked about Global Time Attack. We just talked about some other events. Listen, when I got stuck on this thread before, I got so, like, not angry, but, like, blindsided that there's so much information available on the internet right now. Like, you can go type in anything you want. It's right there. Like, and then people still just read somebody's writing and take it for fact. I mean, luckily, I thought what was interesting was there was a few dudes that kind of did that, and they were replying in basically saying, hey, like, you should probably go look this out. Like, they've been making...
like that's inaccurate and had, like...
Yeah. And
evidence to support their cases and stuff.
Yeah, and one day we're going to talk a little bit more about wheel construction and different things, but one of the things that one of the persons was saying was like, oh, well, if you don't want to worry about a wheel breaking or a wheel bending, then you should go with a forged wheel. Listen, I will tell you this: there is not one type of wheel construction that has no cons, and there is not one type of wheel construction that has no pros.
Any wheel can break.
Yeah, but even getting into that, the pros and the cons, I mean, flow forming has pros and cons over forged wheels. Forged wheels have pros and cons over flow form wheels. Cast wheels have some pros and cons over other things, and they're not all as explicit and as easy as you would think. So we'll get into that one day, but basically, when you talk about a wheel bending versus breaking versus shattering versus any wheel, regardless of manufacturer, OE, originally came on your car, you bought them aftermarket, whatever it is, every wheel will have a breaking point because it's metal, not magic. It's just the way it is. Like, if you hit something hard enough, a wheel can bend. If you hit something hard enough, a wheel could break. Like, those are facts. Like, regardless of which brand you want to use, whatever, it just is what it is. I don't know how else to explain it. Regardless of manufacturer or who made the wheels. So, there are going to be some things. And, the questions, I heard people say, so regardless of what wheel construction you use or what material the wheels are made out of or et cetera, there's always going to be pros and cons to everything. And, we talk about bending versus cracking. I think it gets super weird on some of the conversations. But, there are some major benefits of a wheel bending rather than cracking or shattering. Right? I mean,
like what? Cool. Well, I mean, you could repair a bent rim.
Well, you forget about the repair factor. The fact is, usually when a wheel bends, you usually are able to you're not going to have a blowout on the tire.
Right.
So you're not going to have a catastrophic blowout failure. So there is a pro to bending and versus a crack or a shattering. Now, listen, I'm not going to get into maybe that's for another day, another podcast, but the harder wheels are, the less they tend to bend, and the more when they reach that breaking point, they may crack or whatever it may be. So anyhow, I don't really want to go down that too far, but it's a little bit more complicated than I think people give it credit for, and it's tough on a forum to surmise that one is so much better than the other without addressing any of the pros or cons to them.
Right.
And so do your own homework. Like, if you're going to be picking wheels for your car, I think pick the right. We talked about this in the last podcast about when it was concerned with weight, but do your homework. Make sure that you're picking a wheel that's right for your budget, for the type of use that you're going to be using, for maybe the type of racing, for any and everything else. You know what I mean? Do your own homework and make sure that when you pick a wheel, it's the right thing for you. Don't just read everything that somebody else wrote. Do your homework. It's out there.
That's just a rule for everything. Like if somebody doesn't have like evidence to back up what they're saying or like can prove what they're saying, like I generally just can't believe it. Like, okay, you're saying this thing, but why? Like, explain it to me. No, they haven't been around. Okay, that's your first mistake right there.
Maybe. Like I said, I wasn't trying to come down on those guys. I just, we're talking about all this, the racing and different things, and then all of a sudden, I just got done reading a thread that was like, well, they're not proven, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, like, kind of are. I mean, I've seen
just a little bit.
Kevin Lawrence last year in Atlanta, he blew out a tire. I mean, remember, they run crazy low pressures. And so anyhow, he debeated a tire, and he was all the way up on the horseshoe, and he literally drove all the way back, drifting all the way back on our wheel. And, I mean, so it was a little smaller than it probably was when it started. But,
well, after that, you have to replace the wheel, right?
Well, it's what you do anyway. I mean, it ground down, I mean, think about it, like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the point is, there was no breaks or cracks, and it doesn't mean that that's always how it's going to be. It depends. Every impact, every hit is going to be different. But anyhow, our stuff's being used plenty. I think it's been proven plenty. So do your own homework. That's all I can say about that. That's it. My rant.
Your rant is done. Well, here's a valid question. Well, speaking of which, do we have questions?
No.
No. Okay.
Not at all.
All right. So questions next time. I feel like you might experience maybe more of like a bend or a crack street driving as opposed to like being on the track, only for the fact that on the street you have to deal with potholes.
So I would counter that and say that I think that the racetrack can be extremely harsh environment. You have things like curb checking that will happen, you know what I mean, that are there. You have rumble strips. You have a lot of thrust load put onto certain parts of the car, especially with these cars having so aeroed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's no way to really calculate what kind of loads they're putting on some of that stuff. So, I mean, that's why we have to leave it to the racers and race teams when they use this stuff to really do their homework
and then give us feedback.
Yeah. So and so we use that. That's one of the reasons that we sponsor a lot of these guys to get feedback on things like that. And
so we can make a better product.
Yeah. I mean, it's 100% what it is. So it's all part of it. But there's learning curves, and I think no matter what you are, we try to continuously improve and make things better. And the racetrack can be extremely harsh, and the streets can be extremely harsh. We're from the Northeast.
Oh my God!
I mean, we got potholes that are
more specifically. We're from New York. It's just potholes and construction.
Yeah, and it's true. And the worst part is that it's not so bad. Like I think when you're from here, you get used to scanning the road real well.
Yeah, when you're used to smooth roads and you get to like New York and you look at it, you're just like
yep.
You hit everything. I'm actually upset. I'm going to go into a little backstory now. I went to Maryland. This is in my first car. I went to Maryland. Acura Integra. I had stretched tires on these wheels. And I drove there perfectly fine. Maryland, super smooth roads. I hit the one freaking pothole on the highway back, bent the rim.
Yep. I get it.
Just one. Because I was like, oh, the roads are so smooth. I wasn't paying attention to it. And it's just boom.
Not our wheel, by the way.
No, not our wheel.
So
different wheels. I'm not going to tell you what
I wasn't right. The point. I wasn't trying to defend our wheels. I was just trying to make the point of it could be any wheel.
It could be any wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. So and the one thing is we get pretty good about scanning the roads, but the one thing that constantly happens is the one that sneaks up on you. The car that you're a little too close to, and then by the time you see it, it's like got no choice.
There's I can't.
It's either this or the divider.
I was smacked into the wall.
Yep.
The guy next to me, or just eat the pothole.
Yeah, and everybody knows what that's like when you hit that pothole
and you just cringe.
And you're just it's that 10 seconds of silence where you're like, don't blow out, don't blow out, don't blow out. And you're just driving. Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm good.
I was once late for a flight, and I was on my way to JFK, and my friend was driving me, and he came over like right where the Belt Parkway comes on. Mm-hmm. He like merged over one lane too fast.
Well, coming from out here, towards the Belt.
Okay. Yeah. So he goes to get the merge on the Belt, and there's like this wicked big like like one of those drainage areas.
The manhole cover.
Yeah, but the drainage vents. You know what I mean? In the road, like where it allows water to go through.
Okay.
Okay, so he had one of those, but they had paved the road recently, so it was like crazy lower than it should be.
Yeah.
So he hit it, and then we were like, "Oh, we're good." And then all of a sudden, like 10 seconds later, it was like, I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh shit!
So we got stuck on the side of the road, and I literally had to call another friend to.
Did you make the flight?
Yeah. So. I made the flight, and I was the guy that came in. I ran, like, it was with JetBlue. They jumped over the – not sponsored, by the way. The guy jumped over the counter with me. He's like, look, your flight board – like, they're closing the door in, like, 12 minutes. I'm like, there's no way I'm making it. And he's like, come with me. And he ran with me, and I had a duffel bag, and we're running through this. We get through security, and they're like, oh, you have to get this is before – whatever days. So like taking off my belt, my shoes and stuff like that, getting through. I literally ran to the plane without my shoes, holding my belt. I get to the plane. They close the door. I was the last one there. I sat down. They'd already given my seat away, but like,
damn.
So, but I just sat in the last seat that they had left. I'm profusely sweating. Anyhow. So I need to go.
And it was the wrong plane. No, imagine.
No. Yeah. So anyhow, that's a. I think I'm done ranting for today.
Okay.
Wednesday has...
Is that it?
Yeah, I think Wednesday...
Is it for today's Wednesday?
I just didn't feel like it. It ended in a rant. I'm sorry about that. I feel like next Wednesday we're going to try to bring you some more positivity.
Okay, so let's end it on a good note. Giveaway.
That's right.
Don't forget, we're giving away a set of wheels.
Yep.
So head to konigwheels.com/subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. If you're listening on the podcast, head over to YouTube so you can subscribe and go to the website link. So that'll automatically enter you. And then it's not just new people that sign up. It's people that are also already subscribed to both.
Right.
So
yeah, you're good. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel.
If you're already subscribed, then you're already good. Congrats. You entered to win and you didn't have to do any extra work.
Yeah, and we've said this before that there's a benefit to being subscribed to our channels and things like that, is that we randomly sometimes will just give some things away or spot somebody and throw them a shirt, or we see you comment on things. We see people throw likes a lot. We do try to stay in the loop on these people, and we'll randomly be like, yo, thanks for the support, here's a t-shirt or something.
I wonder what someone's reaction would be if, like, I don't know, for whatever reason they haven't really been on social media. They're one of those people that, like, don't really pay attention to social media, but they subscribe to us, and like they're subscribed to the newsletter and the YouTube channel. I wonder what their reaction will be if, like, they're just like, holy shit, like I randomly won a free set of wheels.
Yeah, I don't know, but
that actually happened to me before.
I feel like we should
stop before I go into another backstory.
I feel like one day you're gonna want to try to capture it like Ed McMahon in the Publishers Clearinghouse. We're gonna like show up with a set of wheels, and they're gonna be like, nobody lives here by that name. We'll be like, you know.
Oh shit.
But anyhow, you have anything else you want to add? We talked about the giveaway.
Nah, that's it. I'm done with backstories. I think
we're
wrap
good.
it up.
Thanks for joining us again on This Wheel Wednesday. It's been nice sharing Wednesday with you, and we're hopefully able to come back next Wednesday with some more positivity.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. All right. For more on the podcast, head over to konigwheels.com/podcast and make sure you check out that giveaway, konigwheels.com/subscribe. And that's it. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.